the ISA Club. We usually meet every Wednesday. Right now, some of the events that we have coming up, tomorrow a few of us are going to go over to, or down to Tempe to go to Hacks for Humanity. It's going to be at ASU, so if any of you guys are interested, please let me know. And then also, just the club, as a club next semester, we're going to a conference. It's going to be, I believe, in Philadelphia this year. Yeah, so if you guys would be interested in that too, come by. We can also get your email address so you guys can get updates about our club too. But I want you guys to give a warm welcome to Sumit and James and enjoy, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Just wait until the end, please. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, and it's good to see a lot of familiar faces, and those who haven't met yet, stop by after this meeting if you want to talk more. But I'm Sumit Verma. I'm a technology manager and also the campus manager for NAU, representing State Farm. And I myself have been in the field of IT for a number of years now. I got my undergrad in computer science and my master's in information systems, so I can relate both with ACM and ISA. At the end of the day, once you're in the industry, the lines kind of blur quite a bit. And today we're going to talk more about some of the opportunities that exist at State Farm from both job perspective and also from your summer internship perspective. And then we're going to delve into a little bit of more of the technical side, different data science as another role that's very up and coming, and there's a lot of demand for it. We'll talk more about that in detail. And here's my partner here in crime to help you. James, go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is James Rodriguez. I'm a software developer, technical architect, and UX designer at State Farm. So I'm in Red Labs, which is our IT R&D department. So I get to work with a lot of the cutting edge technology, work with multiple teams in the IT R&D department. I graduated here, I'm an alum. Also graduated from ASU, so I have a degree in business management as well as computer science. So I kind of have both those angles as well. And I'm part of the recruitment team. So very excited to be back here on campus and be able to chat with you guys. So.
All right. We'll jump straight into a little bit about State Farm, and then we'll talk more about the technical aspect of things. So these are some of the the GBiz numbers about State Farm. It is ranked number 36 on the Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500, and we are getting pretty close to our 100th anniversary in another 4 years, so it's over 95 years old. Now those 95 years, for the last 60 plus years, it has been number one auto insurance insurer in the United States. A lot of you may not know, State Farm also has banking products too. So based on the volume of money we deal, we are the 101th largest US bank in the country. And from size perspective, we got about 65,000 State Farm employees. So that's spread across pretty much all across the United States. We are growing in key 4 areas. Bloomington, where it's all started. That's where the headquarters is at. Bloomington, Illinois, which is right between Chicago and St. Louis, one of the major cities there. And then now we are growing in Tempe, Phoenix, Atlanta, Georgia, and Dallas, Texas. And that's where our IT is growing. We got call centers all across. We got our claim people, State Farm agent. We got over about 19,000 State Farm agents. So we got more State Farm agents in the United States than there are McDonald's. So they are easily, readily available. So they are pretty much helps generate business. So we are very thankful for those State Farm agents. Even though the way the demographics are changing, people are engaging more with their cell phones and technology, don't want to go in the office as much, but still the State Farm agents provide a pretty key service. Key mission for State Farm is help people manage their risk from everyday life, recover from unexpected, and realize their dreams. So it go all in line with our insurance products, our banking products, and that includes auto, home, life, renters insurance, anything to make sure their protected, they can recover from any unexpected, and also realize their dreams, which is some of the banking products we have for them. I'm gonna skip over some of these things here, get to the meat of it. We already talked about number of IT employees. So here's our internship program, and that's what we're gonna talk a little bit more today. So we got 169 colleges that partner with State Farm for our internship program, or summer internship, which is a paid internship. And last week at the All Major Career Fair, last Friday and today, we are looking for our summer internship. That is one of the reasons we are here. Second reason, we wanted to engage with the ACM and ISA club. So, and tell you more about our summer internship program, which is again a paid internship, about 10 weeks of internship. And we are specifically looking for internship opportunities in our Tempe office. And if you have interest and are open to considering other location, Bloomington, Illinois, Dallas, or Atlanta, come talk to us. We can help you connect with those. We had people from NAU who took internship opportunities outside of Arizona. Some of you may know Chance Spears. He did an internship in Atlanta. Now he's a full-time employee in our Tempe office. So just because you're in Arizona doesn't mean you have to stick with internship opportunities in there. However, James and I, since we recruit for Arizona, we have a little bit more influence on recruiting and hiring or placing those individuals in the location. And specifically for NAU, that's a kind of a testament for our internship program. All of our NAU graduates or students who've done internships, when given an opportunity as a full-time employee, they all took it, and they are full-time State Farm employees, some at Phoenix, some in other locations. So we had a pretty good success rate. And if you want to know more about that, talk to some of those folks who did internship here. Steven's here, he can tell you more about it too. I don't know how much he learned in the coding and stuff, but his ping pong game certainly improved. The State Farm, we got technology-wise, being a large company, we got a lot of departments and sub-focused area within State Farm. So if you have passion for software development, we have a place for you. If you have interest in the infrastructure, networking, security, databases, there's a place for you on our team. A lot of people on our State Farm team, they come in as, they think that's what they want to do, especially when they come out of college. They have maybe this much understanding of the wide variety of the IT, and they go in there. Over time, they mature and learn more about it, and they grow, and as a result, they want to explore something different. You may walk in as a tester, now you feel like you want to be a software developer. You walk in as a software developer on doing web development, backend development, using maybe Java, maybe front end, but you decide, oh, I want to do mobile development. We got iOS and Android development teams as well. So people transition fairly frequently at State Farm. So one thing you may have heard other people say is, so being such a large organization, you can have multiple careers without ever leaving the company. So I know folks who were joined as a tester, they became developer, they became security guy, they became project manager, they went into management or upper management, and still work for State Farm, have a 25, 30-year career with State Farm. So that's always a big plus. Here are some of the things that are key. Machine learning, and we're going to talk more about that in our data learning things. Data learning, which is part of the data science, machine learning, AI, they all kind of overlap, and we'll talk more about how to learn more about that. Again, data-wise, how much data, volume of data State Farm handles. So which is 10 times more than the Library of Congress, which is here it probably tells you in petabyte. No, you have that in here.
6.8. I think it's 6.8.
6.8 petabyte. So it's quite a bit of data. We process over There the number probably gonna come up. Several thousand claims every day. So we have over 84 million policies, auto policies, and of those policies there are accidents, claims that are filed every day. And our teams, different departments within State Farm, are working on streamlining this process around claim processing. We have teams that are working specifically around quote and bind. So if somebody calls in, wants to know more about, hey, how much it's gonna cost for my insurance? And then we have processes that look up into some centralized databases with your DMV, your driving record, your driving history. If it's a loan requirement, we look at your credit. So we got a lot of sub-processes that work behind the scene to give a seamless, good user experience for our customer when they call in, and we can try to give them a quick quote either through online or our phone, give our tools to our online reps who can answer their question in a quick manner. So we got a lot of technology happening behind the scene. A lot of people think State Farm is a large insurance company, fail to realize how large the technology department is that's supporting it. So just a perspective, we got over 6,000 to 7,000 State Farm IT department that's spread across those 4 locations that I mentioned earlier. In our Phoenix site, we got close to 600-700, and it's still growing. Bloomington, which is our headquarters, kind of the mothership of IT in there, because that's where it all originated. We got several thousand, about 4,000 to 5,000 employees there, and then we got about 1,000 or so in other locations that are continue to grow. So from the technology stack perspective, Java is the primary platform that we use for majority of our application. Prime reason it is enterprise kind of ready platform. We have .NET applications that we have for our ingrown or in-house users, so which is essentially different department within State Farm that need to manage their assets, manage their product. They create their own quick application using .NET. Again, we mentioned about 65,000 employees. James and I are fortunate we got Max, but majority of our employees have Windows machine. So it makes sense to have some of the Windows as one of the development platform to support those 60,000+ machines. So we got from Microsoft, we use a product called ACM, which manages all the licensing of software that's running on those Windows machines. So if somebody wants to request a product, say you want to request Visio on your machine, we got a process in place. You can request, somebody can approve it, and next morning when you come on your machine, it's already there for you to click and install. All the licensing management that needs to happen behind the scene, asset management for that Visio and attaching to your machine in case you lose your machine or your machine crashes and we build you a new machine, all that was on your machine is already pre-populated and installed. So all that management of infrastructure that happens, and that's a pretty large footprint that we manage with our IT folks. So it's not just insurance or selling or managing policy, a lot of the infrastructure behind the scene that happens. So we are using a lot of JavaScript frameworks, Ember, React, Angular, to name some that are currently being used. I mentioned earlier iOS, Android. We got, obviously, to be relevant in today's market, everybody has to have mobile presence. So we got both platforms that are fully supported, and pretty much first citizen when we do our development, we think from mobile web response and mobile responsive as the key thing when we're doing our front-end development, how it's going to look on a phone. Even though it's a web app, you want to make sure it displays and responds in a way on a mobile device with maybe smaller screen size, lower bandwidth capabilities that it may have, which is kind of changing with the new as the technology improves. One of the largest private network with over 65,000 machines that are on our network. We at one point had over 30,000+ Windows servers, physical servers on our network. Since then we have virtualized a lot of it. So we got a lot of virtual servers, we got data centers that we manage. And if you're not familiar with server virtualization, do read up on that. That is, again, another key technology that's not new anymore. In the last 5 years, it has grown tremendously, and everybody's using it. AWS, and another example of that. Cloud, that's another example of that. Server virtualization. Here's a picture of our Atlanta Park Center. So it's a campus that we just recently built in the last couple years, and we are expanding. So like I said, Bloomington is where it started, Illinois, and Tempe, Atlanta, and Dallas. We just started building new campuses. If any of you have been around the Phoenix, Tempe area, you see a beautiful campus there right next to ASU, Sun Devil Stadium. You'll see a picture of that here shortly too. This is the corporate facility in Bloomington. This is Dallas. This is our Marina Heights. We feel it's one of the better looking one, right next to the water. We may be biased. So let's get to the internship opportunities. So in the past, we heavily recruited on software developers. So folks who had interest or had some experience in software development. And if your development experience is in Java, rock on, you can be an easy transition for you. If you had experience with C# or other development platform, C# is another object-oriented, you will be able to transition. It's a different syntax. Concepts are pretty much same of any object-oriented. You will get there quickly. So that's where we focused on. But as we continue to grow our Phoenix footprint, we are now focusing on infrastructure too. So by infrastructure, I'm talking about folks who can do sysadmin kind of work, managing our servers, troubleshooting our servers, logs, help the application developer troubleshoot what's wrong with their application by looking at the system logs, Splunk logs, database administrators. So all those key skills are now continue to grow in our Phoenix, so we're trying to recruit for those. So folks that may not be software developer, but have got a pretty good aptitude of troubleshooting, managing and supporting infrastructure, being able to script, may not be doing hardcore software programming, but understand the scripting languages, they would be a good asset. Security analyst, so cyber security is another, not a buzzword anymore. It is, I mean, you have to, especially when you are a large organization that like State Farm, it got tons and tons of data for your private sensitive data. We got our policyholders, social security, their banking information, their driver's license information. We can't really let that be compromised. So we got a whole department that's actively working on security at the application level, at the infrastructure level, at the even building level. So we got several intrusion detection systems. We got analysts. Their full-time job is to monitor our network, to look at any kind of suspicious activity and detect them and prevent any damage to happen. So that's another key area for people to grow into. UX architect, and that's pretty much is now contained in our Atlanta site right now for our UI design. So how the app's gonna look and feel, how they respond. So we got team that, especially if it's a customer-facing app for our policyholders, we have a team that's dedicated to make sure it conforms to the standard that we want to look like. Also there are some regulatory and compliance, like ADA, American Disability Act, so I want to make sure it is rendered properly for everybody to be able to see and meets the standard it needs to. So here are some key dates. Any of you are looking for summer internship. So our summer internship gonna start on May 13th, run through July 26th in Phoenix, Atlanta, and Dallas. For corporate, it starts on May 20th and then ends on August 2nd. So keep those in mind when you do apply. And as I'll have some information for you, but I may not have enough flyers, so that's why I wrote it down here. If you go to statefarm.com/careers, look for requisition ID 4505. That's just our Phoenix summer internship job ID. And even though I would love to collect your resume today, if you're interested, we can put that in. We can chat more about it, get to know you a little bit more, and we take some notes, but you still have to go on our website and apply for that internship for it to be considered. And once we have everybody's resume that were interested, we'll be making a decision pretty soon here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I plan to come back before end of October to have interviews in place, do some interviews, and hire or make offers. So make sure if you're interested, don't waste time to apply. So that's more about some of the key opportunities and also summer internship program. Some of you may not be eligible for summer internship program, primarily because the criteria we have for summer internship, you need to have at least 1 semester left after you finish your internship. So if you're graduating anytime before December of 2019, 29 is too late. I hope you're not graduating then. 2019, if you're graduating before 2019, you won't be eligible. So if you are looking to be a full-time employee, maybe you're graduating in December of this year or spring of next year, come talk to me. We got ways for you to probably look into our full-time opportunities. Some that are published right now for that you may be eligible for in December. I can't promise anything for the spring graduates because it's way too far out, and somebody within our department who's looking to hire, they probably have a need right now, and they probably won't wait 6 to 8 months. That does not mean there are going to be more opportunities by then. So if you're going to be a spring graduate, start looking at our statefarm.com website around February, March, April timeframe and look for opportunities. Any questions on that before we jump into our the data science portion of things? Question around internships? Yes?
On a previous slide, it said that you had a lot of seniors be interns, but you're also saying that if you're graduating in the spring, then you're not eligible. How does that work?
So when I said seniors, so we had students who were going into their senior year in the coming fall. So they were the one we were bringing them as interns. But our focus is to bring freshmen, sophomore, junior more so that they had opportunity to maybe come back again and also get a good flavor for understanding of State Farm and its culture and the opportunities that exist. And also we get a good understanding of that individual and their potential and their caliber too. So we can make a sound judgment when we make them an offer to come back as a full-time employee. So when I said senior, I'm talking about students who are going into their senior year when they start the summer internship.
Thank you.
Or maybe they're gonna be the December graduate of 2019. So how many, just by show of hands, would be eligible for 2019 summer internship based on where you are in your schooling? Good. And others, I'm guessing you are graduating in either December or summer or spring. Okay. So do talk to one of us after today's presentation, and we can talk more on how to make sure you stay connected and are aware of opportunities that are present now and potentially will be available when you're ready to graduate. And I'll give you my contact information, so when you are ready to graduate, do contact us, and if it may not be posted on our website, we may have something in the works, so I can maybe give you a little bit more intel on how things are. Next question.
Are there any plans to move any of the user experience portion of the business from Atlanta to Phoenix or to any of the other branches?
So I can chat a little bit about that. So I'm in IT R&D. We actually have a user experience team, which I'm a part of right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're a pretty small team, but we basically are a horizontal team that kind of cuts across all of the concept domain teams. So I get to interface with each and every research and development team, and I'm basically injecting a lot of the like market research, doing some of the lo-fi prototypes, working with customers to reintegrate some of their feedback into that design work, and then also as an architect, helping them to design not only how it's going to look, but overall the user flow as well. And providing them with a skeleton, basically prototype that they can take and then build some of that meat behind the backing solution. So there's some opportunities there as well.
And when I say UX team is in Atlanta, again, that's more for customer facing. So if somebody has passion for UI development and they happen to be in Phoenix, doesn't mean that they can't do that, because we have a lot of development that happens in Phoenix for our internal customers. So I could be somebody in creating an app for our claims department, for our claims adjusters that may be using it, or our maybe accounting department that may be utilizing our app. So we will create application for them, and that may not has as rigor of UI development that we need to go through a central body. So you still get a lot of opportunities. So I have a team that I lead that creates automation for that primarily used by software developers within the enterprise. So for them to be able to deploy their code to production, they have to go through my app for kind of a certification, make sure they are kind of cataloged in our inventory as, okay, this is the new application that's going to go to production. We know which servers it's going to reside on. So we need to kind of catalog that. So developers use that application, but my team built that app. It has a UI, it has an API. People can connect to it from a backend directly through another API or a UI, but or they can go through our user interface. So my team developed that in Amber. I have another team that's working on a kind of risk profiling in any application. So say you build an application for our code and bind, but it may be a financially significant app, because if that app goes down, all our folks that are handling the phone call and trying to give code to a person who's calling in, that's an impact to State Farm if they can't do that. So we need to risk profile that application as to, hey, what's the criticality of that app? Again, that's a UI. The team is built in React. So there's a lot of opportunity pretty much in all hubs to do some UI work.
Actually, I have one more.
Yeah.
Do you also see business or information system students and computer science students kind of going in different directions, typically once they're within State Farm? Or how quickly does it blend? I guess you mentioned that once you're kind of in a career, you can move around a lot. But do they start in different tracks, and do they end up staying in different tracks, I guess?
And again, depends on the individual. So there's no standard answer I can say. People walk in and they walk into being an infrastructure support or technical analyst, and they may be supporting our Linux servers or our Hadoop cluster or big data cluster, and they're happy doing that, and over time they build expertise and they feel they're comfortable and they want to continue to be an expert versus trying out a new area where they may have to start from scratch. Everybody is different. Others may feel like, you know what, I've done that, I feel pretty accomplished, I want to try something, find a new challenge, and they are able to do that. We have some trainings available for people who want to transition. Say you are infrastructure analyst today, but you want to be into security. We may have some targeted training that you can take that'll get you a little bit pushed in the right direction, and then we have some mentoring that we can provide. Again, it's more driven by the individual themselves. How about the success rate? It's pretty successful. There sometimes we've seen people are not able to transition as efficiently as they thought. So prime example, and not to knock anybody who's a mainframe developer. So we had a lot of mainframe developers, and as you know, that's a legacy technology. And as we continue to build and bring modern development platform, so we had a lot of folks who wanted to be object-oriented developers. In the past, they've been COBOL, JCL developer for a number of years, and we send them through the programming, the JCL, and our Java program, which is a 3-month dedicated training. So if you think your summer classes are intense, times 4, because you are doing that 8 hours every single day, getting hands-on experience, labs, quizzes. So it's a pretty intense program, and we had a lot of success stories. We had several that could not do the transition. So, and again, it depends.
Yeah, to add to that, I would say that in general, there's a lot of horizontal mobility, being able to kind of transition either between departments or different roles. And even opportunities to job shadow, especially that's true also for the internship. So if anyone does get an internship, I recommend to explore a little bit, even if whatever team you may be placed on, to go talk to other areas. Maybe you have some passion or just in general some interest in some of the areas, and see if you can parse some of your time to kind of learn from other mentors within the company. That'll really help gauge your own interests, right? So you may think you're interested in one thing and find this whole other area you didn't even consider. So there's a lot of opportunities for that, both as an internship and as a full-time employee.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What kind of projects do interns usually work on?
So, like I said, there are a whole lot of different sub-teams, especially in Phoenix. So there are folks that were working on creating an application for our architect team. So anytime we are making a technical decision, essentially, and we have evaluating multiple options, we document it. So down the road, the person who worked on it, they may have moved on to a different team. Somebody can go back and refer as to why that was done differently or why we picked that option, not that. So that's another UI app. One of the interns or a couple of the interns worked on that last year. There were several that worked on some of the data science project, and some got to play with some machine learning. Some got to work on some automation, like people are currently doing some manual process. They have to go in and maybe derive some data or enter some data, how we can automate that. So there's a wide variety depending upon which team you get placed on. You may not have as an intern, you may not have as much control as to what team you get placed on. But when you do interview for your internship, be vocal and explain, share what your interests and passions are, and we try to kind of place you in the right mix if we can. And like James said earlier, you may get placed in team A, but your passions are more in team B. Don't hesitate to still talk to team B and get to learn and see maybe how you can find your way into that and exploring more on that space. So that's kind of a vague answer for what kind of projects. But typically the projects we try to give them are small because you're there for 10 weeks. You want to make sure you get a feeling of accomplishment and success that you can finish something that you started. And being a large organization, sometimes there is some process may delay some of the tool choice or your ability to take stuff to production or be consumer ready. So we want to make sure we account for that. So we kind of narrow the scope as how large a project we assign to our interns. And typically they work in teams, and they're also assigned mentors who are another experienced software developer who is kind of maybe a domain expert on the problem that you're trying to solve. So you got another set of eyes and expert who's helping you make sure you succeed. You got a question too?
Yeah, the students might be shy to ask, but could you explain the compensation and the benefits and the perks of being a summer intern with State Farm?
Absolutely. Some of you who were there, our summer intern last year, would be pleased to know the compensation got better this year. Then in the past we used to have, you probably would know what the numbers are.
It was $20 an hour for
$20 for a new intern, and if you come back next year as a returning intern, it used to be 21.
22.
22?
Yeah, 22.
22. But this year, I'm going to say I think, and I shouldn't be, but I've been told it's going to be 24
Yep.
regardless. So if you're new or you're returning, it's $24 an hour, and it's when you're intern, you are like a full-time equivalent employee. So you are doing about 40 hours a week. You can do the math, what you're going to be getting, minus the taxes and everything else. And there is also relocation assistance available. So say if your permanent address is not close to State Farm current facility, there's some compensation that's given to you, like a one-time lump sum to kind of help with the cost of moving. say if you get placed in a different hub in Atlanta, Dallas, or Bloomington, the same kind of relocation assistance is available. So yeah, it's a pretty sweet deal, apart from a great resume builder, great experience builder, and also give you an opportunity to showcase and learn about State Farm. From a compensation perspective, I think it's pretty decent for an entry-level person walking in and learning. And you get a lot of support from other State Farm employees. They want you to succeed, they want you to learn. And talk to our returning interns, they'll tell you more, the things that they enjoyed, things that they probably may wished were different, and we take their feedback too and try to improve. Did that answer your question? Or general, everybody else, that was on your mind? Yes.
For people who are interested in data science, data analysis, things like that, but have limited experience, are there opportunities and what do those look like?
I think that's a pretty good segue into our next portion of our slide, and we'll cover that in a little bit.
Great.
And then if your question is still unanswered by then, we can come back to that.
Thanks.
Want to jump into that?
Sure.
table is? Or is that proprietary to tell me what that table is? I'd like to tell my students that in my database class. A single 6 terabyte database too.
I couldn't tell you myself, I'm not sure.
No, I'd be guessing. I'd be guessing. Sam? Yeah. No. I will try to get an answer for you. The guy who did put this slide together, he may have an answer. We'll find out.
Yeah, I can ask him. Anyways, yeah, so like we said a little bit earlier, we have a lot of data as a company. Just financially, through customers, marketing, and all that data allows State Farm to uniquely utilize it for data mining and for data science, which is kind of the key aspect really when it comes to data science, is having all that data in order to make decisions to improve the business processes and offer new products. So let's take a deeper look at what data science really is and kind of the people who make up data science. So these are some of the systems roles in our company currently. really tying things granular here. So we have a little bit of data design, right? Being able to design some of the database implementations. We have our database administrations, some of our business intelligence, and the data scientists itself. They all kind of work together to mold and shape our data to be utilized, to be consumed and constructed. So really, what is big data science, right? So data science is the extraction of knowledge from large volumes of data that are structured or unstructured, which is a continuation of the field data mining and predictive analytics, also known as knowledge discovery and data mining. So to get a better view of what this really looks like, right? So a data scientist really is a conglomerate of a lot of very specific skill sets, right? Some hacking skills, some expertise, math and statistics knowledge. Combining all these aspects together is where you get a data scientist. And so what do they really do? So they have a little bit of business acumen. Oftentimes they're working with a subject matter expert in order to understand what the data actually is, what it means. In our case, we're dealing with a lot of financial information, customer information, insurance claims, things of that nature. And they're basically trying to determine ways to use that data to solve the right problem for the business. And also being able to determine what data should we even be using, right? We have multiple different databases that we can be using, a lot of different models that we can be using. And there's a lot of interesting ways you can kind of combine these models together to basically solve and find interesting solutions and patterns in that data. So a couple of examples that you've probably seen in the real world today. So Amazon's recommendation engine, as you're purchasing items on Amazon, they're recommending items to you that you may also like based on other users' purchase history, your purchase history. That's all data that they have, and they've mined and have data scientists to kind of guide you and direct additional sales. Google's page rank algorithm, so as you're searching for things, being able to populate relevant information for you based on what other people are searching and some of the keywords that you've used. IBM's Watson, which is a really cool implementation, right? Being able to really use a wide range of data to be able to give you interesting answers. And even in the autonomous vehicle area, right? So we're using a lot of machine learning now, collecting a lot of live video feed data to basically allow cars to determine how to interact with people on the streets, so we're not, crashing and make them safer overall. So some of the skills and education required, realistically, data science is in such high demand. A lot of companies are looking for even entry-level individuals who have some substantive understanding of data science, which is really awesome because for people who are interested, there's people who could basically learn stuff on their free time and be able to be competitive enough to enter the industry because there's just such a high demand for this field. That being said, there's this, I call them unicorn data scientists, right? And these are people who basically have like the PhDs in statistics, machine learning, AI. And the reality is there's not very many of those individuals that exist. It'd be very hard for a lot of companies to find them. And so what's happening now with the industry, at least, they're looking for more of building a team of these individuals. So having a statistics individual, someone who has more of the AI background, some of that software development, and kind of bringing them all together to serve in this data science type role. On top of having that subject matter expert to be able to describe the data to them so they can actually really understand what kind of data they need, what kind of models they need to build. So that's kind of where the direction is going now. And so being able to dive in early could be very beneficial moving forward. So kind of what to expect as the role of a data scientist, right? So one thing you're doing is actually gathering the data itself. So being able to extract different fields from different databases, being able to clean the data, being able to know the difference between like dirty data, which would basically be anything that kind of pollutes the models, things that are abnormal, and that could be a number of reasons for why those may exist. A little bit of exploration to be able to find interesting patterns by combining different data sets together and to see if there's a reason why certain trends are happening. As well as some so the cross-functionality here. So really knowing why that data exists, why it was collected in the first place, the business of that data collection piece. Visualization is also very important, particularly when you're trying to understand and comprehend what the data is telling you, being able to use analytics tools to start charting and plotting some of these correlations and relationships with the data that you've collected. Let's see here. There are a lot of pre-built algorithms now in today's world. Amazon SageMaker is a really interesting tool to give you a lot of out-of-the-box solutions for machine learning algorithms. But there's also a little bit of that hacking mentality of being able to tweak some of these algorithms to understand which one is the best to use under certain data sets as you're creating some of your own ratios and some of your own values. And a lot of like tuning and tweaking. There's a lot of weights when it comes to data science in order to get a certain accuracy that you're looking for. But it's also important to understand that accuracy is not the most important thing when it comes to modeling. The reason for this is because either way you're trying to find and solve some kind of business problem. And so even though you may have a great accuracy, even if you're dropping to like 80, 90, or 90% accuracy, you still might be getting a lot of business value from what you're able to achieve from that. One example could be predicting a low risk kind of thing when you're with an autonomous vehicle, right? Being able to detect, someone crossing, you may be more likely to stop even though there may not be someone there, but it's better to do that rather than not to do that, right? So kind of where the field's going right now, really early on, these are some of the early tools that were kind of being used, a lot of Python, R, Hadoop, and SQL. Now, because of just the growth in the industry, there are a lot of tools and frameworks that are available to you today, and there's a ton of tutorials and information out there to start learning this stuff. TensorFlow is a pretty big and awesome one. I've been messing with that personally myself. Google's been doing a lot in the machine learning space. Like I mentioned, Amazon SageMaker. They're also doing stuff with image, object character recognition, and object detection as well. We have stuff with autonomous vehicles, drones, AI, robots, even stuff with like some of the medical industry as well, being able to determine diagnoses for like cancers and other things like that. So some of the things as far as we're continuing to move forward in this field and some of the roles that are kind of going to persist. So continuing to gather new data. The biggest problem with data science today is it's only as good as the data that you have. And so we're quickly learning that a lot of industries are trying to find new ways to gather data. And because larger data sets you have, particularly in different areas, you can combine to find some of those unique and interesting patterns. Being able to translate that raw data and being able to learn how to really clean it and simplify the data so it's easier to consume and understand to build better models over time. Being able to architect some of these data sets, being able to understand what information you need to be gathering to begin with. Doing more predictive analysis. One trend that we're seeing now is dynamic model updates. So as you continually get more information, you're able to feed it back into the model and automatically update, which is pretty cool, right? Because you could see a certain trend start to go in a different direction. By continuously feeding that information into the model, you're able to react and predict much faster. So a little bit about data science at State Farm. So these are some of the ways that we've kind of been using it in-house. So post-collision vehicle routing. So being able to determine after a collision has occurred, how to basically route some of these things to different claims associates to kind of expedite some of our processes. We've done stuff with State Farm employee churn. So being able to detect why some individuals may be leaving, using some of that data as well. And that helps us as a company, right? Because we're able to understand, okay, what processes do we need to change in order to retain individuals. Some of the unstructured data, so text analytics over call centers, being able to understand as people are calling in, what kind of things are they asking for, what kind of things do they need, and that helps us to build a better process in total, as well as informing some of our other products like such things as chatbots, right? Things you probably integrated with yourself, being able to talk to some of those AI bots. Also mining social media for marketing purposes, getting a feel overall for what people are saying about State Farm, being able to extract like comments and things on some of our own posts, or if we're tagged in something and maybe that people are having some bad experiences, we can start correlating why that's occurring, and so we can do a better job as a company as well. And then some image analysis and processing. So one thing that we're working very closely right now is with autonomous vehicles. Obviously, is auto insurer. This is something we're watching very closely to see how that's going to change things in the future. one thing that I've seen recently is being able to detect damage on cars. So actually in IT R&D, we've built a device where someone gets like a 360 view of their car, and then we're able to detect exactly where the damage is, and that also expedites some of the claims processes and makes it a little bit easier for customers. And another one thing that's really cool is our unmanned aerial vehicles, so drone technology. We're actually flying these over disaster zones to be able to detect certain areas that have been catastrophically destroyed. This also helps with the claim process as well. Primarily, the reason is a lot of agents really can't get into some of those areas, right? Because it's very dangerous to get in there. So this allows us to actually go in ahead of time, see and assess the damage, and be able to provide claims much faster, as well as being able to plot stuff out even before damage to see if there's going to be any potentially structural issues in the future, traffic patterns. There's a lot of data we can kind of collect from drone technology, and with using that, being able to provide different levels of like insurance rates and informing policy as well. If we're seeing areas that are more hazardous, right, that might help us step in to be like, hey, you know, the state government, you might need to make these changes so it's safer for your customers. And as far as data science go, I know we have a team in the Tempe location and I believe Bloomington as well.
We have in all locations.
All
So
locations.
what data science is, again, like you mentioned earlier, is very niche and specialized roles. So there are not a lot of people available. So we gotta form our own teams with different expertise to get the desired results. So you have small teams in each area helping tackle different problems. Some of the ones he listed here with maybe social media mining, or helping our other team that are maybe creating an app for using their aerial photography using drones, and then being able to utilize those images and process them, or damage assessment. So we got different teams working on it. They're pretty much in all locations. Again, it's a very specialized. And to answer your question about what do you need, say, if you don't have a whole lot of experience in that space. So some of the technologies that we mentioned earlier in one of the slides. So if you are familiar with any of those, if you're not, maybe start. Most of them are open source, or you can easily get your hands on without.
Are you looking mostly at the traditional or at the cutting edge side right now?
So I would say either one will get you in a better spot than Python. A lot of people use it. It's not a new scripting language. It's been there for a long time. It's easy to use. People use it. It's quick and dirty for you to do a prototyping and create your models quickly. R is another one, still fairly used. Some on the cutting edge side, with the MongoDB, some of the unstructured databases, how to actually leverage and do the pattern recognition from those data sets. I think that's where you need to focus on, or should focus on. And I would say any of these, I wouldn't say, yeah, just focus just on the cutting edge. Any of this, you get there, definitely will put you in a better spot.
Yeah, a recommendation I'd say too, because I've been dabbling with this a little bit myself, is just kind of play around with stuff. And it helps if you have like some kind of passion project you want to work on. So I actually have my own side business I've been working with, and I've actually been learning to create an automatic card sorting device so to be able to detect like trading cards. So I've been using machine learning to detect like condition, the type of card and stuff. So that's kind of my own passion project, and because of that, it gives me a kind of more of a focus of like what I need to do to actually kind of learn some of these things. So if there's like a specific passion that you have, that'd be the best way I try to tackle learning. And really, with that focus, it kind of guides the kind of tools and things you'll need to kind of learn. But Amazon SageMaker, I'll definitely take a look at that, because that's a lot of kind of pre-built stuff in there can get you off the ground pretty early. And then TensorFlow is a really good tutorial walkthrough as well. It's pretty in depth. So
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. We've also, we believe we had a couple individuals who've job shadowed, at least in Tempe as well. They spent like a little bit of their time learning from the data science team. So like even if either full-time or internship, that's not something you end up on a team with, but it's pretty easy to kind of learn from other people, like splitting 50% of your time, or 75, 25%, depending on the on your team needs. But
And learning these tools and definitely a plus. At the same time, you need to build some of those other skills that are needed, run the math and statistics, being able to leverage those and help your model do some pattern recognitions. So for instance, we had some data scientists work on looking at our security logs. So anytime somebody logs into any application, we got logs are generated, and there's a pattern that, okay, if you're an employee in Atlanta, you're going to be logging essentially, say, between this window. And if we start seeing some anomalies in that pattern that people are logging at 2 a.m. and maybe there's something not right going on, maybe need to alert some other system to make sure why that log's being generated. So those are some of the things that machine learning, AI, data science, they all kind of work together to help detect those kind of issues. Similarly with, say, you are a sysadmin whose job is to make sure your application and your infrastructure is up and running. You look at logs, the log don't really tell you a whole lot. Because you look at log, okay, yeah, there's maybe some delay in this, the response time is slowing down. Don't think anything of it. But over time, when you see that pattern start to emerge that, okay, anytime we had an outage, maybe 2 hours before that, we started to see some kind of anomalous logs appearing or some degraded performance appear to happen on this side. Can we match that and attribute that future outage because of that? And then you can create other models based on that. Okay, I'm seeing something wrong here. There's potentially, you may get an outage. You want to start looking into it. And so you may want to have some experts put their eyes on it and try to prevent that possible outage. So those are the different use cases you can use for data science, machine learning. They're pretty cool once you get them working. And I have a lot of respect for people who are working in that space. It's not an easy thing to jump in and become an expert. Definitely takes time, but there's a lot of demand in the industry. So if that's something you're passionate and you're interested in, you'll have opportunity anywhere you can go.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Let me get you back to where you were.
I think we're just ending. So.
Okay. All right. Well, other questions you guys have? Yeah.
So you were talking about passion projects, and earlier in the first presentation there was a little tidbit about hackathons.
Oh, yeah.
Employee hackathons. Does State Farm actively encourage employees to have such passion projects, and do they allow for, Google, for example, gives employees 5 to 10% of their time to work on these projects. Is there an incentive for that at State Farm?
You are so spot on. I feel like you're like a planted question that I. No, we do. So we do have. Actually, we have annual hackathons that happen at State Farm. So essentially, you can pick any topic, you can use any tool, and we even give you a kind of an isolated network, so you potentially can't bring down our network or compromise the security from that perspective. You can play it like you're kind of a sandbox, and you can work on anything, and there's the judging that happens. And there are different categories you can align your passion project to. If it aligns with our State Farm business model, say, it's going to assist with maybe our claim processing, maybe with our automation around deployment, maybe with our employee retention, or management of time management, or anything that we can readily leverage, yeah, it can fall into that category. Or it can be completely outside the realm of insurance, financial industry, on maybe how to catalog your trading cards. It's still a fair game to do your passion project and show it to the rest of the company. And the purpose there is give you opportunity to do something you're really excited and passionate about. Play with tools that you may not get to play on our State Farm network because maybe of the licensing issues, maybe of the possible security issues. You bring your own tool, you bring your own toys and play with them and show it to them what you did at the end of the day. And if you win, then you move on and kind of gets a little competitive at that point. You get like a monetary reward too as you move up. So it's pretty exciting. A lot of people do it just for the sake of, they form their own teams, up to 4 people on a team, and they got 24 hours to work on. There's a lot of Red Bull and energy drinks. People stay overnight and they may not win, but they certainly have a very good time doing that. So we encourage that. That's just once a year, but that's not the only time. In my team, and it's not just my team, pretty much we encourage most teams that pretty much we have our what you call program increment, kind of break our work into about 3-month increment. We work in agile development methodology essentially. So we look at what we're going to deliver in the next 3 months or next quarter. And of those 12-week increment, we say, okay, let's focus on 10 weeks of what we really need to get done. And after those 10 weeks, you get 2 weeks of uninterrupted time to do whatever you want to do. Hopefully it aligns with that project you're working on, how to make it improve that, maybe do some technical debt, refactoring, maybe exploring new technology that you can utilize in the next increment. So yeah, we definitely encourage people to do that, which that translates to maybe somewhere between 15 to 20% of their time if you want to spread it across.
Yeah, I can definitely say I've been on a lot of innovation sprints where we've done that. Sometimes we'll do it one whole innovation sprint, sometimes we'll break it up like one day of every sprint we'll do something as a team and try to work through stuff or have little side projects, either related directly to that project or something on the side. I know for me personally, I've done stuff with our continuous delivery, continuous integration pipelines. Did some work there for my team and also shared that across my whole department. So that was pretty neat. Have the opportunity to innovate and improve processes to make things just better for the day-to-day. And then I'm also working on a separate project too. I'm at my new team. So there's a lot of opportunities if, like, with some of your free time you have, or if you have dedicated innovation sprints to really to build stuff out, and that stuff is definitely noticed too. So.
And on the same topic, I do want to promote and tell you guys about our Java coding competition. So kind of like a hackathon, but not really, but it's more focused. So I don't know how many of you heard about that Java coding competition. Some of you have. So I got some flyers there for that, so do grab one of that. So essentially, it has a little bit more relaxed eligibility criteria, so you don't have the whole, you have to be a student for one more semester afterwards, your internship. As long as you are a student, full-time student, on the dates when the competition is, actually it is next week, 10/13. It's all online. You register. You can register as an individual. You can register as a team of up to 2 people, and you download our Java. It's a Java, like the name suggests, Java coding competition. So it's in Java. So you download our project file, and in that project file, I don't know how many of you are familiar with unit testing or JUnits. I think probably C# has something similar to that unit on the unit testing side. So we have already built in unit test cases that are testing the capability this problem or this project should solve. And all those unit test cases will fail when you download it. And your goal is to write the code so that the test cases pass. There is brief documentation what the problem set is, and you can look at the code, try to solve it, and you got a limited amount of time, 4 hours when the window opens. Download the project. There's a lot of pre-work you can do, and it's all on the website. Tools you can download so that you're not wasting time downloading the IDE that may be like 3 gigs and you're spending 20 minutes, half an hour trying to get that in place. So all that stuff you can do ahead of time, and when the clock hits, you can pull the code, start working on it, and submit it. You don't have to. I've been on the selection committee and the judging committee for the coding competition, and the winning teams, they may have like 30 or 40 unit test cases that they need to pass, and the winning team may be only did 25 of them. So don't think that if you didn't get through all of them, I won't even submit it. No, submit it what you got. Say you got 10 unit test cases that passed, maybe you may be in there, still may be in the running. That's first round. If you qualify for that, there is an $800 award to the 4 teams, and then the 4 teams gonna be moved on to the next round, where we'll have on-site. So we'll fly those people to our Dallas facility, give them a tour of the all-paid trip for you to go to Dallas, and if you win that round, you get another $1,500 on top of that. So it's apart from great resume builder, there's a monetary incentive and something you can always put down. Yeah, you participated, and you can actually go to the website There's problem set from the previous years. You can get an idea what kind of problem that you're gonna get, what kind of, and you have pictures from the previous winners, so you may get your picture in there, in the Hall of Fame. Go ahead.
People who usually go on to like the second round of the on-site competition, are they usually on a team of two?
Let me go back and think there. Majority of them, yes. Majority of them, yes, but that does not mean, I mean, I had a similar coding competition at AITP, which is the Association of IT Professionals. That is an annual conference that a lot of schools sponsor and send their students. We have a similar coding competition, and I've seen individuals do really well on those two. It's a similar style, 4 hours for them to deliver and get through. So it depends upon your familiarity with the platform, your familiarity with the basic coding concept and syntax. You can Google stuff, but you can't really solve all those problems using Stack Overflow in the time that's given to you. So you need to know what you're doing when you walk in. Yes.
How much does the coding standards flow go into it? So if you do camel case or snaking or where your brackets are, or like how many functions you use, how much does that weigh into the winning team?
So I've been on the judging side of those coding competitions. So what we do is we do a first round of doing automated testing, because typically we have our results fairly quickly. I mean, if somebody spent 4 hours to do their coding and we may have 30, 40, 50 applicants who submitted their code, we don't want to go and sit through everybody's code and take time to tell who got it right and who got it wrong. So we have our process that quickly runs their application and see how many test cases they passed. And if somebody there's a tiebreaker needs to be happen, 25-25, and we see who did more elegantly. But it does play into it, but typically I would say, especially on a coding competition where your goal is to get it done quickly, I mean, you can compromise some on the standard, but when in real life, yeah, you want to do it right. So when you look at your code or somebody looks at your code, you're not hiding away and saying, oh crap, I wrote that code. You want to make sure you are doing it right. But when a coding competition, it does play in some factor, but make sure you get everything done right before you start making it look nice.
Thank you.
So kind of like the philosophy I tell my team is, get it working right before you make it all looking pretty and tight. Yeah.
Someone have a question back there earlier? I don't know
Probably was.
if.
Go ahead. If it,
Huh?
you still have that question?
Not at all.
Sorry.
Well, besides data science, anyone else have any other kind of questions at all about things we're doing on State Farm, IT R&D? Open book for you guys. So.
I saw on one of your previous slides, it mentioned business analyst, and I was just curious about what that role entails at State Farm. I read about that role in my software requirements book, and I just want to see if
It
I'm
matches.
just curious as to what it means over there.
Sure. Kind of a pop quiz for what the book says and how we're using it. So the way we at State Farm, that role is defined as business analyst is somebody who has a good understanding of the domain or the problem that we're trying to solve. At the same time, they are technical enough where they can work with the architecture team, the software development team, to give them the right level of detail in their requirements and help. So they kind of go in between the consumer of the application and the developer of the application. So this person is saying, I want my application to do this. And the business analyst may be able to say, you know what, that's a great idea, but based on the technology and the time we have, that may not work right now. And then they come back and tell that software developer, this is what we need, and maybe even help them design the high-level design of what the application should look like. and then the developer and the architect may lay down the technical architecture of the application. So that's how the business analyst plays. They are technical enough where they can communicate effectively with the development team or the support team. At the same time, they got the really nice soft skills to be able to communicate with our business partner and extract those maybe not clearly articulated requirements and put them on paper. How to help with them with the design as well, like the high level system design. Is that what the book says?
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because it was connected with the data science parts, I was just wondering.
So I think the role,
how was this connected
the
with
slide you're
balance
referring
and
to
balance?
is this one right here.
Yeah.
So here it talks about the different roles. So all these roles kind of play in some kind of, they're connected in one way or another.
Yeah.
So business analyst may be the one gathering the requirements and helping also communicate with our testing team at the bottom here to help make sure all the use cases are kind of documented and test cases are documented. They're also talking with the software developer who's actually developing the code. And we got security analysts who may be interjecting themselves as the developer is creating their application, make sure they're not leaving any application level security vulnerabilities in there. They're maybe using the right level of securing their code, not leaving any kind of vulnerabilities that can be exploited by either different APIs or bad actors. So, and then we got IT analyst, which may be, and that's a kind of a loaded role, IT analyst. They may be supporting the application. If there's a code that breaks, they may be the first line of defense that takes in that call, trying to figure out what's wrong with it. A lot of time it could be maybe the user error, maybe they don't know what they're doing, maybe there's some software, maybe hardware glitch or network glitch that caused that error and they can just reboot the server and everything is good to go. Or maybe there's a real bug that they need to communicate up to the software developer team and then they have to put a fix patch. So they all work together, I mean, not just data analysts, but yeah, they work in pretty much partnership. And as the industry continue to grow, you may start hearing the term full stack developer. So essentially that person has a lot of strength in all of these different roles that you see up here. They used to be more compartmentalized, but as the products are becoming more, I would say, not as monolithic, they're smaller, you can contain the scope. We want one person to be able to manage its scope and being able to develop it, being able to support it, understand everything that underline the architecture for that product. So that's what the term full stack developer comes from all the way from the bottom of the stack where they are able to understand the infrastructure needed for it, all the way to the UI, the front end that the customer gonna be interacting with. UI, databases, security, middleware, all that in between. Yes.
So previously when we were on a tour of your facility, and this was geared more towards full-time positions, but there was some talk of continuing education, and at what point State Farm is willing to contribute to, say, a master's degree or some kind of continuing education. I think people might want to hear about that too.
Yeah. So State Farm sponsors and promotes people to continue to develop. And as far as academic, pursuing your degrees, like master's degree, obviously that's a long-term goal. It takes a little longer. So after 1 year of employment, State Farm will reimburse you up to a certain amount for each semester as long as you maintain a certain grade point average for that semester. And as long as that field of study has correlation with the role that you're in. So say if you're a software developer and you want to continue to pursue more in the management of information system or get another degree in, say, data science, it's related to the IT, State Farm will sponsor it. If you are a software developer and you have passion for music, want to pursue your master's degree in music education, we'll have a little bit. You got to be really good salesman before you can get approved for that one, right? So as long as there's a good correlation, State Farm will sponsor it. And there are a lot of, not apart from those academic long-term degrees, say if you want to go to a conference for your continuing education, there's a conference for like a week-long conference for security. There's always like a, what is called DEF CON in Vegas, where they have a lot of black hat, white hat, gray hat hackers show up, and they kind of learn from each other. State Farm sends our security analysts there just to learn and also see what's happening in that space, learn from both the good guys and the bad guys what they're doing, so we can protect our infrastructure. And similarly, there are a lot of conferences that happen for software developers, for Java, for front-end development, and we routinely send quite a few people from State Farm to go attend those conferences and bring that knowledge back and share it with the rest of the enterprise. There are a lot of conferences for insurance industry, because State Farm is an insurance company. So if you want to pursue education in that space, get some designation in financial or insurance designation, we support those too. If you want to get certification, say you're a Java developer, you want to get a Oracle certified, I was about to say Sun certified. So you can definitely, State Farm will pay for those. If you're Microsoft developer, you want to get, I don't know if they still have MCSC, MCSD, they do that. If you're infrastructure, those A+, CompTIA certifications, State Farm pays for all those. Yeah, there's a lot of support for people to continue to grow. So if you're in leadership, there's some leadership conference where you want to build upon your leadership competencies, how to be an effective leader or manage your teams in the new model of agile development. There's a lot of conferences in that space. We sponsor, we send our individuals, so big push on continuous improvement and development for our employees. Anything else you want to add, James?
I don't think so. You pretty much hit all the big ones, so.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of just a follow-up question to this. Having done coursework while working full-time before,
Mm-hmm.
striking that balance is really difficult, even if you can find a higher degree program that will accept you part-time. How do you guys manage that? How often do employees actually pursue higher degrees while working with State Farm? What does that look like?
State Farm definitely encourage people to pursue those higher degrees, as long as, again, it's related in the field. And how many of people pursue that? I wouldn't say it's a huge number, because you said you do that right. You are doing that right now, working full time. You have done it in the past.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
It is very difficult. So for that reason, there is not a large population of employees who are pursuing it, because they're working full time, full course load, even part-time course load, and you end up having, say, a family too that you takes have a demand on your time too. So it's not easy, but people do that. And again, it's not a quick 2-year program. It may be a 4-year or 6-year program for you that you're taking maybe a couple of classes every quarter, every semester. But I've seen people do that successfully. I know an individual, you may know that too, Carlino, Kevin. He just graduated from ASU, still pretty young, so he's still in the mode of continue to be in academia. So he went, got his degree. He wanted to be in the management, got his MBA while working full time, taking classes in the evenings or taking classes that are maybe in the morning, and State Farm kind of gave him that leeway where, okay, on Wednesdays you're going to be gone half of the day. You're going to make up the time some other time.
Yeah, I'd say adding to that, really, it's the work-life balance that State Farm has that kind of plays into the success for that, right? Being able to kind of choose your own schedule, to be flexible in that way. Some people work 4/10s. I work 6 to 2 pretty much every day and get a half day on Friday. So, I mean, obviously it depends a little bit on your team and manager, but there's a lot of flexibility in adjusting your schedule if need be. So, and usually your manager is going to help support you in that decision as well. So,
I mean, you guys are all getting your undergrad, so, but at State Farm, at our Tempe office, we have a lot of employees that are maybe working in our call center, but they may be working on their undergrad. So State Farm has a program where we got partnership with some local community colleges that are coming on site on the State Farm facility, maybe holding a class a semester, so that they can go in the evenings or maybe take a break during maybe they're working second shift or third shift, take 2 hours off and attend those classes. So we highly encourage and promote that for people to get that education.
Cool, thank you.
And they pay for it, like I said, after 1 year of employment, State Farm pretty much reimburses you majority of your cost when you pursue that.
Great.
Any other question? I don't want to keep you any longer than you need to. It's Friday night, it's almost 7 o'clock, but do take a note of that. This is our summer internship job ID number. I have a few flyers that I can give that to you, and we can also actually send it to your club presidents and they can disperse it to all your club members about those flyers. So yeah, if you're interested, make sure you do apply, and if you, after this meeting right here, you're gonna hand me your resume, talk more specifically about see if it's a good fit for you, do talk to us. We're gonna be here for a little bit longer after this. Yeah. And also the Java coding competition, sign up, the enrollment is open. The competition is on the 13th of October, right around the corner, so go and look into it, see what kind of tooling it's looking for, what kind of platform it's looking for. Are you familiar with it, or can you get ready for it within a week if you're not? So I would encourage it. If nothing else, you'll learn quite a bit.
I just want to thank you all again for having us here.
Yeah.
Taking this opportunity to give back and learn a little bit more about State Farm, the industry, and really appreciate the opportunity to be here and chat with you guys. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.